Hello, my loves. Welcome to our first card reflection video of the 78 Deep Challenge. For those of you who may not know, because I am posting this both in the course and on YouTube as my reflection of the week, I am hosting a tarot challenge called 78 Deep, where you can join us in the challenge at your own pace for free, or join us for the course where I'm posting daily reflections, and we're chatting as a community and sharing aha moments and talking about extra tarot related topics. It's been an amazing time and we're only a few days in, so please feel free to join us at any time. I'll leave that link down below. But without further ado, my loves, today's card is the Empress, and it's our first major arcana card within the challenge order. And I really wanted to give it its proper due because the Empress is a card that I haven't always resonated with, but within my own personal journey and really path as a magical creative, the Empress has become a really important and expansive card to explore. And I wanted to bring some of those musings to you today for your own ponderance if you would like. Now, this is not going to be a comprehensive and definitive guide to the Empress card, although I don't think anyone could ever make that video because each major arcana card is just so complex and rich with archetype and story and association. You could probably do an entire course on each card, but for the sake of today, I wanted to speak about the Empress and her archetype as the kind of as the earth, to be honest. The Empress is often depicted, especially in the RWS depiction, right? It's a woman sitting in a chair in this wheat field who's pregnant, and it's meant to symbolize, abundance and that nurturing divine feminine energy, the creative energy via, the birthing of humans, etc. But I think that sometimes that depiction can be a little limiting and lead us into, or at least myself, into this kind of eye roll feeling, because the Empress as the divine mother archetype, as the divine creative vessel, if you will, is much larger than just the idea of pregnancy, right? Which seems to be the thing that is often depicted with that. So I've pulled out some Empress cards that illustrate kind of the deeper facets that we embrace when we think about the Empress. And I've also pulled out a few goddess cards here. So let's just dive in, shall we? So the Empress card is a card that's associated with Earth. It's associated with the planet Venus. And it's basically the card in the major arcana that represents the divine feminine. And when I think of the divine feminine, right, I can't help but think of Gaia, to think of Earth. Because what is more mother archetype than the Earth itself? And I apologize that some of these cards are glary. The sun is coming in, but let's see if we can prop some up for you. So when we think about Mother Earth, right, when we think about Gaia, she is the nurturer, right? She is a creator. She is connected to all that is. She not only is a life force in herself, but she creates the environment where life force is able to flow through her and nurture all of her quote unquote children, right? Anything that lives upon the earth, and allows them to thrive within their own divine being, right? She channels her creative energy to cultivate not only them, but the environment that they can expand and grow and evolve in. But she isn't all sunshine and roses, right? Being in this role of divine mother, in divine feminine, there can also be this other side of her that is destructive, right? When we think of like the weather and everything that happens, we often say things like, oh, Mother Nature can be cruel sometimes. But as the mother archetype, right, there's always kind of some kind of course correction that needs to happen sometimes. When we have gotten off our path, she comes with unconditional love, but sometimes there's a hard lesson within that. And there are times where we can become out of balance, and she calls us back into this balance, right? She rises and falls with the cycles of nature. She is a creator. She is someone who creates beauty, right? Which is why she's associated with the goddess Venus, because Venus is love and creativity and beauty, right? And really enjoying everything that life has to offer us. But there's also this balance with the Empress, right, of taking care of others, but also nurturing the self, becoming the vessel for the sacred creation, but also playing a part in that creative role. So the Empress can be a very complex and nuanced card with her various roles. And depending on where we are, the Empress might show up for us as a mothering archetype, as a course corrector, or as someone who is nurturing us along our path, reminding us of our creative power. But she can also come in when we are out of balance, when we have let ourselves become so wrapped up in taking care of others that we're no longer taking care of ourselves. We're not flowing with the cycles of nature. We're trying to put ourselves in the position of the emperor and be really structured and rigid and force things. Not to say that there isn't a place for both, right? If we think about masculine and feminine energy, we are both. We are made of both. But the Empress really focuses on that feminine archetype. But I think it's important to recognize that while she can be gentle and nurturing, the feminine energy through the archetype of the Empress is not weak. She is not folding. She is not powerless. She is quite literally divine feminine power. One of the cards that I love is this mother archetype from the Witch's Tarot by Burning Paper Hearts. And while this is not the Empress card, to me, this is the embodiment of the archetype of the Empress, right? She's naked, she's under the full moon, she's connected with the cycles, she's nurturing herself and honoring life and just really allowing herself to be stripped bare and whole and complete with nature itself, right? The mother archetype has a great sense of her own identity. The Empress has her identity, but she also understands her role and her humbleness in the unity of everything. This particular Empress card is one of my favorite of all time. This is from the Haunted House Tarot. And I love this depiction of the Empress because it shows that creative energy, being the steward, the vessel for the creative energy, without doing the pregnancy thing, right? We can see her holding her stomach, but one thing I would like to associate, with the Empress is that sacral chakra there, which is really creativity, right? It's our womb. It's where all that creative energy lives. And she's not only embodying the creative vessel, but she is literally holding her creative energy in her palm. She is wielding it as a force. And you can also see her surrounded by beauty, right? She's surrounded by the plants here. She has what looks like this beautiful plush blanket that she's sitting on. She's sitting in this ornate room with a beautiful chair. You can see the mirror back here. So I love this depiction of the Empress. This Empress has been renamed, but this is from the Witch Sister Tarot. And this is the Queen of the Fae. And I really love this to illustrate, again, that kind of Gaia archetype of she is all of the forces. She's legend to often be seen as shape-shifting into different ages, different sexes. She is fluid because she embodies all of creation. She is the Divine Mother. She is the protector of nature. And she can be both nurturing and a little unforgiving, right? She has the power to wield in a course of divine correction and protection of what she has created and cultivated. Here we have two depictions of the Empress that kind of touch on that more darker side of the Empress, right? Here we have the Empress from the Witches. Oh goodness, what is this called? I love this deck. What is this called? The Ask the Witch Tarot. And you can see that she's actually crying. And this is associated with the goddess Caradwyn. I apologize if I have butchered that. I'm not super familiar with this legend, so I'm not going to speak on that per se. But I do appreciate this depiction for the fact that it is as if the Empress has come to a point where she is no longer with her sense of self. It's almost as if she has created this vast landscape, right? But this landscape is dying, and she feels like she is somehow, kind of dying inside as well. And it's just a strong indication of like something is out of balance. And sometimes when we give too much, when we try to control too much, or we work so long on something and it doesn't turn out the way that we thought it would, there is this deep pain, right? This pain that comes from being out of balance and not honoring the natural ebb and flow of things, and not honoring ourselves and our place within the creation process, and trying too hard to control, right? There's a balance that's very delicate between wielding our creative power and forcing something to be created. And here we have the last depiction that I've pulled out, which is the Empress card from the Horror Tarot. And I love this because it speaks to the idea of surrendering to the creative energy, right? To being the vessel of the creative. There's something about the Empress that really grounds the High Priestess. It's the idea that the Empress is so connected to the earth, right? To that pure, creative, grounded energy, that she's able to take the wisdom, the divine guidance that the high priestess has and channel it into the material world, right? As the creator. And sometimes our creations, right, when we surrender, they take on a life of their own. And the process of doing this can be painful and can be ugly and can ask us to break open and to shed things in order to birth something in the end that is beautiful. And sometimes, in order to do that, we end up birthing instead a bunch of not so not so beautiful things within the process, right? Everything's not all perfect and beautiful and sunshine and roses and Venus energy all of the time. There is an element to creation that can be messy and ugly and dark and deep and painful. And the Empress recognizes all of these things, right? The Empress is the queen. She is the mother. She is the creator. She's the nurturer, but she's also the light and dark together. She understands the wholeness of both things, and she doesn't ever turn us away for struggling or being in a dark place. She instead says, "Take my hand and let's walk together as we explore the dark and the light, as we birth and create and destroy, as we cultivate and bring into being, but also surrender and let go, in order to continually play in this flow of life, this cyclical nature that we all are, and rising and falling." So, as you sit with the Empress today and in the future, whenever you may be watching this, I encourage you to look at her through the lens of complexity, of wholeness, of the cyclical dance of the dark and the light, and how all of our many facets as creative beings must play together, must have their time and their seat at the table in order to birth these beautiful creations. And through this process, we get to honor all of it, right? We get to honor all of ourselves, all of the earth and those around us, and all of the little nuances and processes that are involved in creating, right? Because the Empress she's abundance. She is manifestation herself. And as we play in that energy, we're asked to honor all of it. So, my loves, that is it for me today. My stomach is growling. I'm going to go eat my breakfast, but I hope that this gave you some beautiful food for thought, and I look forward to seeing your Empress reflections of the day. If you are in our course section, please go ahead, drop them here in the comments on the post or in our Voxer chat. And if you're watching this as part of the free part of the challenge here on YouTube, you're welcome to drop your reflections in the comments here on YouTube and tag me, right? If you want to do a VR of your favorite Empress cards, discuss that. I would love to see that. If you just want to post a picture of your favorite Empress card on Instagram, do that. Whatever's feeling good. Just remember, hashtag 78deep and tag me at leannealigned so that I can see and celebrate you and expand my own understanding of the card through your unique lens of wisdom. Thank you so much for joining me today, my loves. I will see you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.